What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I'm your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, @agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the borough of Kings, live and direct. How y'all doing? Hold on. Where is he? Cap, where are you?
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
I feel like I just watched something with that Beasties reference recently, so I thought about you when that happened.
Like Guardians 3, maybe?
No. It was
Oh, okay.
no, it was something recent. I don't remember what it was, but it was it kind of tickled me. There we go. But anyway, folks, you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Yeah. Hey, folks. We got a nice little packed week, especially on the TV front. So we're just gonna go ahead and get right into it with a light dusting of discussion on Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2, Episode 4, which is called Trespass. You Ice Cube.
Trespass. Yeah, that's what came to mind as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Trespass has, kind of some crazy things. It starts with a flashback, and we get a lot of flashback in this episode of Bill Randa, right? We get to see a lot of the things that happened once Bill Randa's life kind of falls apart, and how we get to the present day. And in the present day, we have some stuff going on between Monarch and Apex. And listen, you have to remember that this show is set post the first Godzilla movie, right? So a lot of the stuff that has happened since that first Godzilla movie has not yet happened in the world of this Monarch TV show. And you have to remember that, because now we've got this new Titan X, and the chase after it, and all the things that happen because of it. And this Apex Corporation is, kind of, I guess, proving to be one of the big bads of this series, or the big overarching nemesis. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on here, kind of bending about, like, whose side are we really on, in the sense that who should we help? Should we help Monarch? Should we help Apex? Should we help neither and just, do what we have to do to save whomever it is that we love or care about, who's in danger? So that's really, the at least from my perspective, the big conflict that's set up in this show, at least this season of the show. There's a heist involved in this episode. There's lots of planning and executing of the heist, and at the end of the day, one of the characters kind of finds their purpose. And like I tried to touch on, like, the points of the episode in very broad strokes. Roddykat will likely have much more to add.
I mean, in this case, it's been a week, so I mean, we can go a little bit more for it, but I don't have that much more to add. I will say that it is good to also remember that the show also takes place, uh, as Age of 70 says, the first Godzilla movie, but also after that Kong Skull Island movie,
Mm,
because that's where we meet and see the end of what happened to Bill Randa, which is
right.
slightly touched upon in the beginning of this episode in a way, with the little montage that they go through, which all leads to what Agent 70 is saying. So, and the other things, yeah, they go through their little infiltration of Apex to get a thing, and they get met with a surprise switch in allegiance, or it's not even a surprise, it's an inevitable switch in allegiance by one of the characters. And as Agent 70 said, yeah, one character kind of finds their purpose by going back to where it all started for them. And finds out a little bit of news. We get a Sarazawa mention. We didn't get a let them fight, but we did get a Sarazawa mention, so that's that's always good. He was probably up until they bowed him out of the quote unquote series at large, or the universe at large. He was kind of one of the favorite characters. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna see this character for no, oh okay. But again, as we've said in the past, there's characters come in for a movie or two or whatever the case may be, and then get snuffed or leaves or whatever the case may be. So, but yeah, Monarch gets played, and in the end, yes, what started last episode with secrets, another gets pretty much found out by another character who probably doesn't really have that much of a leg to stand on, but at least his stuff was already out there. But we'll see how they handle it come the next episode. Because the one thing that's always fun to me about the show is that, and this is a slight spoiler for what's been going on this season. One of the characters who is the mother of one of the another characters pretty much looks younger than them, but that's due to reasons because of what happened
Time
to
travel
them.
shenanigans.
Yes, basically. So, and it's like, man, like my mom looks younger than me and hot. I mean, it's like, okay, I mean, granted, the last part probably wouldn't be said by them, I would hope, but still, kind of a thing that's kind of funny every time I watch them.
No, it's not mom. It's well, that's true.
No, it is
but
mom
yeah,
for
yeah.
one. Yeah,
It is mom for one of the characters. Okay, it's
yes,
grandma for the other character.
correct, right, and almost as young as
Right.
the grands. So, but yeah,
Right.
so yeah, that's still continues to be amusing to me in this one. But yeah, like I said, good episode. Like I said, we'll see what happens with what gets what one character finds out next episode, and what the gang found out in their little infiltration run. What they're going to do with. I assume that whole part was just to get to the revelation at the end, but also to try to figure out why did they have this dude stuff packed up like using the stuff up like the Ark of the Covenant. and what are they using it for? But that is Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Wait, isn't the next episode like today, right?
Well,
Or is it
Friday.
Is it Friday?
Friday.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I don't watch until later. That might end up changing because of what we got going on, but still. The next show that we will be talking about is Daredevil BornAgain Season 2, Episode 1, called The Northern Star.
No, is it the Northern Star? Or the Northern.
It is the Northern Star. Yes.
All right. Oh no, I see it. I apologize. I was misreading one of the recap articles that I saw. So yeah, it is the Northern Star. They have a mistake in one of their sentences. It is kind of a fun little start, right? We get what it was nice to hear other reviewers over the course of the last couple of days talk about the same feeling that I had, which is that it was very much reminiscent of the opening to Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
you didn't get that feeling?
Not really, but I
Well,
can see
just
it now.
the
But
opening sequence, right? The opening sequence because it's on a boat,
because of right, yes, yes, yes,
right?
yes.
And the
Um,
fighting goes on a boat,
mhm.
and that's the source of the name of the episode, right? The
Right.
eponymous episode. So, um, we have very much uh, kind of a continuation of what happens at, towards the end of the first season of Born Again. We're carrying on almost directly from where we left off, where the forces of the Kingpin are cracking down on vigilantes, at least in name only, right? In this world, in this Daredevil corner of the MCU, we don't exactly see very many vigilantes. So this anti-vigilante task force is targeting whom exactly?
Right.
Uh,
And I guess at this point it's still a yet, but yeah, you are absolutely right.
so uh, the real world parallels are unfortunately very frightening.
Hmm.
We have the the Wilson Fisk slash Kingpin slash Mayor character is very much coded towards a real world idiot, and a lot of the actions undertaken by the anti vigilante task force are paralleled in the real world by some more icy cold idiots,
Hmm. Ice adjacent, yes.
and
Fuck them.
and one of, I think, my favorite parts of this episode was I guess it was towards, I don't know if that was the middle. No, it was actually in the beginning because it was post right after the ship scene where sometimes these things feel forced. Where I needed to rewatch the episode because I missed it the first time around. The tie-in to the greater MCU
Ah, yes. Yes.
with
A
with the
certain name drop.
Right, with the
Hmm.
Matthew Lillard character dropping a certain name. Well, not that character doesn't drop it, but it's part of that character's introduction. And a name gets dropped and I missed it. And while I was listening to various podcasts, recapping the episode, they mentioned it and I had to go back and rewatch it. And once I noticed it, I was like, "Oh, okay, so I get it."
Right.
But without having heard that part, it was still my favorite part because it felt unfortunately so real where uh someone else is calling the shots even above who you think should be calling the shots in this case. Someone is uh uh pulling a particular string that pulls the strings of the puppet who you think would be in charge of anything. So of this particular situation, right?
Right.
So I think I enjoyed that part of the episode. Overall, I think it was a strong start. Um, we'll see how much more of this we're going to get. I think to me the weakest parts of the episode deal with the younger Gandolfini and the younger Yurik, and I actually kind of like the Greek corner of the of MCU New York City.
Hmm.
We kind of dove into that. That was kind of fun.
Right.
What did you?
I kind of agree with you on the on young Gandolfini because every time I see him on screen, I was like, I just want to punch him.
Mm,
And I'm pretty sure that's probably, possibly what they were going for. If it
yeah,
wasn't, they
I think so.
if yeah, and if it wasn't, they still succeeded. Um, the
Or
Yuri
let's say they
part,
lucked. They lucked into it.
Yes, basically. The Yurik part, like, it makes sense because that ties back to the Netflix series of when what happened to the uncle kind of pop in. But yeah,
They
her
should have kept
dealing
him
with it.
alive.
Huh?
They should have kept him alive. They
I
should not
absolutely
have killed
agree.
him off.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That still kind of bothers me that they did that. But we have another one in this place. But even though they're not doing the
Like Ben
exact same
Urich is
role,
still alive in the Marvel comics. Why are you killing him off here? You know.
well, I mean, they do a lot of silly things in the MCU that doesn't reflect the comics, as you know. So it is one of them things. Luckily, they haven't done that in the comics, so they just don't really use them all that often. So that's similar. But regardless, what else was I gonna say? So yeah, the name drop kind of reminds you that, oh wait, there actually are other quote unquote vigilantes out there, or folks that are, because we know like there are other people out there. There are the other the street level of people that are out there, not just the ones associated with this dude. Your Spideys are still out there in the grander stream thing. Your Miss Marvels are still out there in the grander stream thing. Like, we'll get an X corner, but they're not street level. We don't call them street level either way. And the ones that we know are or should be associated with Daredevil, or more likely Colbert. We know at least one of them is. Probably two others may follow suit. I'm hoping for at least two more. They can minus one and just bring in two more and maybe give them a show. Daughters of the Dragon, looking at you. But that's not happening so far. And yeah. The thing that was kind of funny is I was expecting someone in that camp to actually come in at the end, because at the end we do get well, let's put it this way. At times during the show we have gotten displays of Daredevil's skill and use of his equipment, and we got a little bit more of that at the end of this until we didn't. And we are also reminded that, hey, despite all that, he's just a man, but he's a well-skilled man, a very, very skilled man, but he can also be distracted, as tend to what happened. Not to give anything away, but you can see it yourself. Also kind of reminded me, like, you know what? There's a character I'm surprised that lasted this long, and I don't know. I was kind of wondering the whole time, like, is that character actually going to be around too much? I would like that for that to be the case, but this episode didn't really, dissuade me of that notion. Given what we saw near the at the end of it. So, but also I was like, that was there was a bit of a surprise at the end that I was not expecting. And also going back to something else real quick, and I'll end it right there, is that the recap or the show was fairly complete. I mean, it probably was, but it still kind of had me thinking, like, wait, there was one thing I don't remember. Like, they hit upon beats upon beats upon beats upon beats upon stuff, but it's like, did I miss when that one little bit happened, or that's just kind of a rejiggering of something that happened, or whatever the case may be? Because season 1 was a minute ago. So, it's easy to have forgotten some things that happened in the first season of Born Again, much less the regular Daredevil Netflix show, which there was none of that in there. It was just season 1 of Born Again. So I was like, as I was looking through the recap, like, I kind of remember. Yes. What? Okay, sure. I'll believe it. It happened, I guess. Or something like that happened. Sometimes they'll change around. It was like, yeah, this event happened, but you get a different angle or a different phrase, when they try to change something or want to tie it in a little bit closer to what the current episodes are going to be. So it was like, okay, it was none of that. It was just a recap that, like, just totally forgot. Regardless, still a good show, still a good episode. So yeah, we're looking forward to next Tuesday for the next episode. We'll just chill until then. As Agent 70 tells us about this week's episode of Invincible, which is season 4, episode 4, called Hurm.
Hurm. Hurm. So this episode, right? And I just wanted to backtrack a little bit to Daredevil episode 1
Hmm.
and talk very quickly about the scene where something happens and it necessitates a whole bunch of people having to die. And in my mind, just before it happened, all I could think of was use of people gonna die. And it happened. It
Yeah.
happened. Um so back to what's at hand. Invincible season 4 episode 4 titled Herm is kind of a one-off, kind of not. It focuses upon a storyline which I did a little bit of reading on online that
Same.
Robert Kirkman did not have an opportunity to do in the comic books. So this is kind of original to the animated show, but at the same time it's Robert Kirkman putting it in. So it was just something that they had never gotten to explore in the Invincible comic. And it is very much related to uh Damien whatchamacallit.
Dark, I
I
think.
don't want no, I don't want to get his name. Dark Blood.
Yeah.
Damien
Okay.
Darkblood, right? And I don't want to go too far into it because Roddykat has not yet watched it. He has not yet gotten to the point of, I believe, the 3rd episode. So, I've got to give him a little bit of slack and give him an opportunity to catch up. But ultimately, even though this story is basically original to the animated series, it's still very much based in the Invincible lore, and probably will lay the groundwork for a couple of different threads that may or may not get picked upon when the series goes further. I don't know how many more seasons they're going to get out of this, but at the end of the day, Kirkman had something to do with it. I thought it was fine. I didn't have any kind of problems with it, but yeah, I can understand like people who were comic books who were Invincible comic book readers getting a little bit like, hey man, we're supposed to get to this, and I think we're going to get to that at the end. We kind of hint upon it and get to it at the end of this episode. So I think we're going to be hurtling in that direction anyway. It's just that this was a little bit of a detour from that direction.
Right. I also did some digging about this season, and because I had asked the question last week, and this is the episode that Agent 70 that is talking about is the one that is the departure, not the whole season. Because apparently, or if from what I've found out, the season does take place in between a set of comics, Invincible comics. I believe I saw 66 through 89 on the whole is supposed to be. I don't know how true that is because it's also coming from a place that I don't. I need to cross check that with something else, but
Right.
but yeah. So this one is the departure filler. Well, I don't want to say filler, but this is the one what they added from, as Agent 70 said, from stuff they didn't initially make it into the comics. So whether there would be more stuff like that, or well, I guess it is just this one storyline that is it is the case. From I do remember seeing that being the case. Like, yes, this storyline was the one that is a departure from the comics and not necessarily the season itself. Also, I remember Kirkman saying, and I don't know if he was saying this in jest, or he actually would probably does have plans for like 10 seasons. Whether all those 10 seasons are going to actually happen,
Right.
and Amazon kind of lets that continue to go, which I don't see why they wouldn't if it's making them money. Then who even knows? But I do remember we did have an article a while ago that was Kirkman was kind of saying that. I'm like, oh yeah, I got a bunch of seasons more to go if we're allowed to. So wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, I still need to catch up with episodes 3 and 4. I will say the episodes 1 and 2, like, yeah, there's one lengthy episodes. 2, I feel like there's a couple of different ways that the certain things could have happened. But of course, this is a show. You got to build up the tension. And also, I don't know whether it kind of ended up the same way in the comics. Then it is what it is. But still good stuff, I think. Also, so I don't know, whatever. I know it continues to kind of make me want to read the comics, and I was almost set up to do so until I realized, like, yo, we still got a whole bunch of comic books to read currently. So, and I was going to try to fit in at least one or two other backlog reads or catch up backlog reads to add, and it's probably not gonna happen anytime soon. But I do want to get to Invincible because I know some stuff doesn't hold up, but I still want to kind of see where it all goes.
Listen, man, travel plans, you need a little bit of
Got none of
reading to
those.
fill the time,
I got no travel plans, so that's not gonna happen. And anything that does have me away from the house and able to read anything, or it's not going to be that long.
Right.
But we'll see. That being the case, though, we can actually get into the books of the week, unless you have something else about them.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
good. Let's rock and roll.
Then then with the books of the week, the first one we're gonna get into is, and I did not mean that. What that accent? ThunderCats number 25.
What was that? Did you say ThunderCats? Didn't we just review a ThunderCats book recently?
We did. It was the prelude to the crossover, and it's kind of fitting that Agent 70 used that particular soundbite.
Right. So ThunderCats number 25 is published by Dynamite. It's written by Declan Shalvey with art by Drew Moss, colors by Andrew Dollhouse, and letters by Jeff Eckelberry. There's a reckoning involved in this issue. There's a reckoning involved between Lion-O and Jaga. Things are revealed, things are said. Some things that are said really can't be taken back. But at the end of the day, a new direction for the ThunderCats on Third Earth is undertaken. I think that the one unfortunate byproduct here is that a particular character, at least for now, seems to be sidelined, but I don't think that's going to be permanent. I think there's going to be some sort of different resolution to that sidelining, as it were. At least after this issue, we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, it's funny that Roddykat touched upon that. I picked that particular soundbite because it is Lion-O, engaging with the Sword of Omens and calling the ThunderCats, and we actually do see that that sequence, or at least a version of that sequence in the comic. But as I said, there's a lot of drama going on in this issue. I'll hand it off to Roddykat for his thoughts.
Yeah, there is a nice big splash page for the end of that sequence that that Lion-O kind of goes through, but also, slight spoiler, doesn't go the way it normally goes in that situation.
Right.
Given what goes on given what happens with this book. But you can read that for yourself. But I will say that in true Thor fashion, Lion-O would have words with Jaga. And he made that very, 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 very clear. Much to the chagrin of the other cast. But also Chitara continues to be a real one, for her dealings with it, despite a thing that happens. And I would just say that I'm not sure if sidelining. Well, sidelining is Agent 70's term. I would just say, if it's the same character that we're thinking of, was basically put back to status quo from the cartoon, I would say.
It's another way to look at it. I look at it as being sidelined because of the active role this character was playing just prior to Lion-O returning.
True, but at the same time, doesn't I mean like you said,
Like I don't think it's going to be permanent, right?
right.
And that's
It's
the thing. I
probably he's
think
gonna
it
pop
is
up. Yes.
right. I don't know if that's so. We're not. I don't think we're necessarily talking about the same character, but at the end of the day,
Yep.
this character is not demoted, but asked to undertake a role that was
Oh,
was occupied when Lion-O was actively leading the ThunderCats.
okay. I
So
know who you're talking about. Yeah, no,
right,
we're definitely not
exactly.
talking about the same character.
Right. So at the end of the day, what we have is, and I hate to constantly use that particular phrase, but we try to move things along, so we use kind of conclusory language. Um, the point being, I think we're leading up to the Silverhawks crossover sooner rather than later.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
we'll see how all this is dealt with when the two stories collide.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a side effect or a side thing for this book because they definitely with that last book pretty much doing the lifting there with doing more setup for the crossover. This book is basically just kind of getting the cats into place. Like, hey, you know what? We got other things we got to do, and then we're definitely going to get into that point. And oh, by the way, at the end of this, hey, like, hey, don't forget, this is still out here. We are definitely going to get there.
Right.
But before we do, yeah, we're gonna get back on mission, using this newfound knowledge that we have that again seemed to be taken or seem to be taken from the 2011 show in a way. So, or I guess a reimagining of the stuff that was used in that show. Put it that way, with what was brought up here. So, yeah, still the cat, still on the mission. I assumed, and that was set up that way for original because this is the 25th issue of of the book. So it's if this was like say an actual big numbered issue, you can kind of see it was like, oh, okay, yeah, they pretty much set this to like the big swing to happen, and then we just go into the next thing, which it still is, but I don't this is not like a big anniversary issue that we know of. So, but yeah, that is ThunderCats number 25. Potential click of the week for myself. Jaga was like, Jaga changed his tune real quick and be like, hey. Shout out to the homie Sinziak, who showed up in Twitch chats with a message, and I have fun at the gym. Get your workout on. Appreciate you stopping by. That's a little in joke in between them and I, so it's all good. But appreciate you stopping through. Next,
I'm like, hey, if you like working out late, more power to you.
hey, you got to get in when you get it in, so.
Yeah.
But next book that we are going to talk about is Iron Man number 3.
Iron Man number 3, published by Marvel, is written by Joshua Williamson with art by Carmen Carnero. Colors are by Nolan Woodard, and letters are by VC's Joe Caramagna, the hardest working lettering paisan over at Virtual Calligraphy. This issue was, I think, a lot of fun dealing with MODOK again. It's a great, MODOK is being played as a great guest star, and we get a little bit more insight into what Madame Mask's plans are in this issue. So, all that being said, I'm trying to remember how the issue ends. So I'm going to hand it off to Roddykat because he'll probably take it all the way to the end of the story and where we are going from here.
You make it sound like I spoil everything. I don't just intentionally do that.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, ugh, there I go again. What you end up doing is filling in a lot of the broad strokes that I put out there.
Hmm.
Not
And as
necessarily spoiling things, but definitely
right.
filling in some of the broad strokes.
And the funny thing, you mentioned that I don't exactly remember the exacts of what happened at the end of this one. But I will say that yeah, we started a little bit of with a little bit of check in with AIM and their cute kidnappees. And we find out a little bit more about one of them, and then of course, like Agent 7 said, we cut back to the whole situation with Tony and Modoc. Before he kind of, has a nice little date, which weirdly reminds me of that Spider-Man Jose Andres team up book just a little bit with how the
Oh yeah,
conversation was going with that. So I thought that was kind of fun.
definitely,
Um,
definitely.
but of course, what happens when you're Tony Stark and you're on a date? Sometimes the next might drop in. It could have been worse. At least it was that one and not the other one that he's basically going after in this book. So, but Tony's been given something to think about. And we even get some references to Tony and his Shield days, running of Shield days. Also, a couple of other references, and there'll be me saying a couple of references here and there. I feel like there's a Marvel Heroes reference. Agent 70 would not know it because I'm fairly certain he has not played it. But there was a version of something that gets said by Modoc when something happens to him that was reminiscent of a line that I've heard way often in Marvel Heroes, and it just made me giggle. Um, so I will have to bring that up for Agent 70 at one of these days. But yes, that's oh yeah, that's Iron Man 3. There was one little section that kind of messed me up for a second, just the same way it did with Tony, because there was an unexpected character showed up there, but I think we know who that is underneath who they are guys to be.
Mm,
But at first, it kind of made me, it was like, wait, wasn't that character? And also was said, in the course of this book, didn't that character, something happen to that character during One World Under Doom? Um, but as we know, things aren't always things in this universe, and in
right.
this particular
Not
case,
what they seem. So
right.
yeah.
In this particular case, like I said, I feel like we know who that is. Because we do know there are some people that are kind of in the wings, no pun intended, but hey, that might also be a clue. Um, as to who that is, just saying. But yeah, Iron Man number 3, folks. That is that for that, and we'll continue on that as we see fit. The next book and the, I believe, last book that we have in common is Fantasy Four number 9.
Fantastic Four number 9 is published by Marvel. It's written by Ryan North, with pencils by Humberto Ramos, with inks by Victor Olazaba, colors by Edgar Delgado, and letters again by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. I have to tell you, this is one of the best books that I've read this week. I read a bunch of stuff this week. The exploration that Ryan North is on, revolving around Sue Storm, as well as some of the more up-to-date dynamics that we've gotten with the Fantastic Four that are kind of based off of the new movie, Fantastic Four First Steps, and kind of an adjusted, uh, but still very much a classic interaction and team dynamic. But it's still, I think, an exploration of the Sue Storm Invisible Woman character, and I'm really enjoying it. and I'll hand it off to Roddykat for his thoughts on this because this is a nice little segue into, I think, the conclusion or at least the climax of this particular storyline.
And it's funny that you to mention the MCU version of FF because we will be talking about that a little bit later, in a similar fashion. But yeah, the what was I going to say about this? It's funny because as just like 8-70, I have enjoyed this Rhinos run of FF, and it continues to do so with this issue. And I kind of agree with the stuff that he said about that, especially with the the dynamics that they have
Yeah,
with
I mean, there's
Sue
definitely some MCUification there.
a little bit, but it's also not outside of the realm of possibility that stuff that couldn't have been happening for years before they were even thought about in the MCU. You know what I'm saying? Because they have been steadily pretty much making Sue more powerful than she initially was for decades at this point. Trying to find new ways to use her powers and upgrading a little bit just to make her not seem one note.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been an ongoing thing, and Randos has been kind of still hitting on cylinders with that and stuff that has come before him. It is kind of funny though that it's not funny, but again, I say there are some references here. There was a Wolverine reference with a thing that happens. There may or may not have been a Wonder Woman reference also during the course of the fight. But there is definitely a reference to a character from the Ultimate Universe, of which
Oh yeah.
Sue's info may or may not be slightly off about. But hey, she does. She don't know what's going on over there. Any just like anybody else in the 616 at this point, maybe exception of Miles, but we have a reappearance of Maria Hill, almost Fury style, which is kind of funny because it's like, you know what, that is definitely an MCU. Fury just pops in and say, "Hey, we got to think. I got a thing for y'all to do." Type situation. So that definitely feels like a thing. As while we do get to see, the group out in space, we do get a picture of what's going on back on Earth and how that may or may not end up tying into what's going on out in space. And of course, the MCU leaning is also kind of apt as well because it definitely feels like, well, one, a little bit of a thing that came out that happened from the movie, or something that could have happened in the movie, but also a little bit of Star Trek, funnily enough. So we should see how that all shapes out next issue. And that, folks, is it for all of the books that we have in common this week. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Rapid fire.
Yeah, rapid fire time. We got a lot of books to get through, folks. Rapid fire review time.
I ain't got time to breathe.
Alrighty. First up for me this week is Absolute Wonder Woman number 18, published by DC Comics. It's written by Kelly Thompson, with art by Hayden Sherman, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters are by Becca Carey. So we follow up from the last issue with much more of a real team up between the Absolute Zatanna, who was recently introduced, and Wonder Woman, Princess Diana. It's definitely an interesting dynamic. The kind of classic, fighting and then teaming up thing is explored with a slightly different twist, a different angle, and that was actually pretty. That was pretty well. That was pretty well written by Kelly Thompson. The story ends up, and now I'm having trouble remembering. I've read a lot of books this week, folks, so I've got to flip through and see how this book ended this week. Just give me a moment. Ah, so the book is at least ends with a confrontation and a cliffhanger between Diana and a character very much close to Zatanna's heart. There's a couple of characters that could be, but remember, this is very much a magic centric Wonder Woman story. So keep that in mind with that particular hint. Next up for me is the big drop of this week, which is DC Marvel Superman Spider-Man #1 one-shot. This is mainly published by DC, but this is a joint publication between DC and Marvel. Bear with me, folks. There's a lot to this book. The first story, the lead story of this book, is written by Mark Waid with art by Jorge Jimenez, colors by Tomu More, and letters by Tom Napolitano. The second story, story 2, is written by Tom King with pencils by Jim Lee, inks by Scott Williams, colors by Alex Sinclair, and letters by Pat Brosseau. Story number 3 is written by Christopher Priest with art by Daniel Sampere, with colors by Alejandro Sanchez, and letters by Willie Schubert. Story number 4 has writing and art by Sean Gordon Murphy, credited as Sean Murphy. Colors on the story are by Simon Guff, with letters by And World Design. Story 5 is written by Matt Fraction with art by Steve Lieber, colors by Nathan Fairbairn, letters by Clayton Cowles. Story 6 is written by Jeff Lemire with art by Rafa Sandoval, colors by Ulysses Areola, and letters by Becca Carey. Story 7 is written by Greg Rucka with art by Nicola Scott, colors by Marcelo Maiolo, and letters by Ariana Mar. And finally, story number 8 is written by Gail Simone with art by Belen Ortega, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by Lucas Gaetoni. This is very much in the style of these large one-shots that we've gotten over the recent past, where there are a bunch of mini stories as opposed to one larger crossover story that's being told, as it used to be. Think circa X-Men New Teen Titans, X-Men the original Spider-Man Superman crossover. The main story involves Spider-Man and Superman, but ultimately a lot of the smaller stories also deal with Spider-Man and Superman, but also deal with other characters being crossed over. I think my favorite stories here were the main story as well as the last story, which involved the Punisher and Power Girl. It was a fun story. That's the Gail Simone story. So that was pretty fun. So go out, pick up a copy. There are plenty of variant covers that Roddykat had put up on the screen to highlight. I picked up an obscene number of those variant covers. I really liked a bunch of them. I'd spent way too much money at the comic book store this week. Next up is Justice League Unlimited number 17, published by DC. It's written by Mark Waid with art by Clayton Henry, colors by Tamra Bonvillain, and letters by Ariana Mar. This is the absolute follow-up to DC KO for the Justice League Unlimited book. The cover gives away the premise. So I'm not really giving away anything by saying that the Justice League has to regroup. And by regrouping, they also need to do something that's very real, which is kind of open up the possibility of fortifying their numbers, and they consider something very serious, and it's right there on the top of the comic cover, right? There. I can speak English. Villain amnesty starts here, right? So that's a gigantic clue as to what the direction of this possibly will be. Oh, I needed to wet my whistle after reading all those credits from Superman, Spider-Man. Next up for me is Amazing Spider-Man number 25, published by Marvel. It's written by Joe Kelly with pencils by Ed McGuinness, inks by Cliff Rathburn, interlude art is by Perry Perez, colors are by Marcio Meniz and Eric Arciniega. And letters again are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. We have hijinks and lots of combat between Spider-Man, Venom, Carnage, and the new character Torment. And there's a lot of banter, joking, and attempted murder going on between all of these characters. You can guess who's doing most of the attempted murdering, but ultimately, there is a little bit of a hint for an upcoming book involving Norman Osborn and the rest of the spiders. So that's that interlude part. We have much more to read about that in the coming months. But when it comes to who Torment is, there is not yet, or at least from my mind, I'm not that close of an amazing. I've not been reading Amazing Spider-Man so closely. So, I'm not sure who Torment is. I don't know if the seeds have been planted for that particular reveal just yet. I could be wrong, but I'm going to stick around and see what happens. Two notes that I think made this issue fun. One is a screen drop. They literally drop a screen grab of Marvel Rivals into the book. So, one of the characters is playing Marvel Rivals. And the second thing is Paul Rabin or Paul Rabin, the character we both hate.
Boo!
Right. Apparently is the creatives at Marvel are definitely leaning into the almost universal hate of Paul Rabin. They're leaning into it. He's catching strays. He actually catches, believe it or not, he catches strays in the DC Marvel Superman Spider-Man. I
Oh,
kid you
nice.
not. Yes, he catches strays. So, shots fired at Paul Rabin, fuck him.
If he ends up being Torment, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I don't think he will, but it's very funny. That's very funny. Next up for me is Psylocke Ninja number 3 of 5, published by Marvel. It's written by Tim Seeley with art by Nico Leon, colors by Dono Sanchez Amara, and letters by VC's Ariana Mar. I'm enjoying this book. It's kind of a cool retcon story involving Psylocke and the change, her alteration in the Claremont days of going from kind of one type of woman to a very different type of woman, and how that change might have actually taken place. Ultimately, we know that they explored that in the pages of Uncanny and X-Men, that is, but it's to me interesting to see it again explored so many years later. With a little bit more of a feel for putting it into the context of the greater Marvel universe. And obviously it's going to involve characters that are related to the Hand, because the Psylocke transformation related to the Hand back in the day. So I'm enjoying it. I don't know what's going to come out of it, if it's going to be if there's going to be any kind of earth-shattering or story-changing revelations, but we'll see. I'm just enjoying the ride. Next up for me is Uncanny X-Men number 25, published by Marvel. This is a candidate for Click of the Week for me. It's written by Gail Simone with art by David Marquez and Luciano Vecchio. Colors are by Matthew Wilson and letters are by Clayton Cowles. This is the Louisiana X-Men, and they are dealing with some supernatural stuff. The parallel story, and I talked about this when we talked about Uncanny X-Men number 24, is that there is a kind of a, it's not exactly a bedtime story being told, but it's a story being told to the young X-Men, the young trainee X-Men in in this book. And it's just pretty, I think the storytelling mechanism is just fun, and I enjoyed reading it. And I simply have, that to say, and that says a lot. I read a lot of books this week. I enjoyed reading this book because of, the way the story was being told. So it's a candidate for Kliq of the Week for me. Last but not least is Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon #2 of 4, published by Marvel. It's written by Chip Zdarsky, with art by Luca Maresca, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters are by VC's Joe Sabino. This book picks up on a couple of threads that were sewn and dropped in the most recent volume of Captain America. A character from the most recent volume that was introduced in the most recent volume of Captain America. The story, in Latveria, that occurred in Latveria. This character who's introduced there showed up again in Weapons of Armageddon #1 and plays a more prominent role in Weapons of Armageddon #2. We have a character who plays a relatively big role at the end of Daredevil Born Again. The original Born Again, the comic book Born Again, show up in this issue because remember the crux of this story surrounds a new Weapon X style program that's being undertaken by another evil corporation. And Wolverine has discovered this and is trying to stop it. He's kind of revisiting some of his sins of his past. And, sometimes those circles come all the way around and get completed. So we'll see how that goes. We're halfway through this little miniseries. And that's it for me.
All right, couple more shots for Paul.
It was awful. I was terrible. Hey, boo! Boo! Well, it was pretty good. Boo!
Oh, no.
Hey,
no,
boo!
There we go.
It was pretty terrible. It was bad.
Exactly. And also,
I didn't really like it.
all apt when talking about Paul. But for myself, we're going to get into a little bit of Void Rivals #28, written by Robert Kirkman, art by Andre Bresson, colors by D. Cuniff, and letters by Russ Wooton. So we get a little bit of flashback to a young Solila and her sibling, who, as we found out at the end of the last issue, we know who that is. But also, I feel like it was confirmed because I feel like that is a thing from single-digit issues of this book that was kind of hinted at. So it has finally been confirmed that of that person who is being that is, but it's but it's also in the midst of the ongoing Quintesson War, which is still raging in this book. So the tide at the last issue had been turned by the agrarians and I presume the Zertonians, so we only got one side of it. Well, we got a little bit more then, but we didn't see any Zertonians in this particular issue. But we're kind of on the Agrarian side, excuse me, where that is the main character, Derek's people. Hail, which realistically they're basically cousins. So it's like a Klingon Romulan situation, kind of, sort of, except for the fact that they were led by lies. Either way, like the Quintesson War going on, the Quintessons were like, oh, this is not going the way we thought it was, so let's call out the heavy artillery in the form of, apparently, and I assume this is a new Quintesson that they brought out, because I don't recall this particular type showing up during the course of the Transformers cartoon. There's even another new set of Sharkticons that comes with this character that kind of changes things. But let's just say that this new character has the has the Quintesson confidence, but doubled by the way they were, by the way they were going about. So, and we also get a little bit of a check in with the Cobra Lock contention, who basically come in only to get shot down. So that's always a grand time. Where is this leading? Who knows? But the last issue of the Quintesson War is going to be next issue. So we'll see how this all concludes going forward. Next up is Star Trek: The Last Starship, number 6. Written by former guests of the show Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly. Art by Adrian Bonilla. Colors by Lee Luffrich, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So things are not going well here in this book, because we got a new faction that was introduced thanks to someone related to, or not related, someone familiar with the captain of the Omega, which is the ship in this book. And it's not being captained by Kirk, but even though he does play a part in it. And speaking of Kirk, he says a well-known thing from a well-known and loved Star Trek movie, on his way to do a thing that would be similar to something that happens in said movie. But he gets denied that. So not quite, but you're on the road. So yeah, so there's this new faction kind of comes in and basically says, "Oh, hey, you know what? We don't need the Federation anymore, because like the way things are going right now, we got to get back to status quo and do this. Y'all come over here to us, and we got y'all covered. Even though the lithium, at this point, is like hazardous to use because ships go boom. We got y'all over here. Y'all come with us. We can get y'all back to the status of luxury that you're accustomed to, while we make profit out of it. Bump the Federation." And so, people that's kind of where we are at this point. And there's a couple of flashbacks. The doctor of the ship kind of steps up a little bit and does a thing which I wasn't expecting. But it all leaves at the end of this book in, I guess, to almost quote the Beastie Boys, "One lonely beastie I be," except for it's not one, it's two, in a way. Next up, excuse me, oops, is Fantastic Four First Foes number 1. Getting back to that. Written by Dan Slott, art by Mark Buckingham, color artist Alex Sinclair, and there's a backup story, which is actually only a one-page thing, written by Ryan North and with art by Phil Noto. And the letters for the whole thing is done by VC's Joe Caramagna. So, as the book is suggesting, it is definitely in the world of the MCU Fantastic Four. We get a little bit more information. So this is kind of still a prequel to actually the movie, in the fact that we do step back to the FS initial flight and find out that there is another person that was around for that. And it's not the one you think it would be in the situation, but they definitely still have the same confidence and ego of the person you would expect it to be. That would be around at the time. But yes, we find out that another would-be villain was around and even taken part of some part of the Fantastic Four's launch in this universe. So and of course, with that and all the fame that the FF got, that we see during the course of the movie, they're basically trying to capitalize on that. Yeah, which starts the person's villain arc, basically. This also has the the group going to a well-known street that one of the group is from because of trying to basically get away from what the villain's trying to do. So, but of course, the unofficial fifth member is the one that kind of comes in the clutch. But also, you know, there's going to be more stories in this universe, as we already know, and this is just not necessarily setting up that, but is definitely still telling stories from that particular universe. So therein lies that. I will say this would be villain, or will be villain, actually has shown up recently in Fantastic Four proper. Also is known for thinking a certain type of way. Last but not least is Deadly Hands of Kunlun #2. Is this of something? I didn't check that part out. Is this a miniseries, or this is just like ongoing that's just going to go until either it doesn't? Right. I meant to check that out. I should not be taking this particular time to do that right now, but here I am doing that. Scroll. Oh, it is 2 of 5. So I was right about that.
Cool. There you go.
But yes, it is written by Yifan Jiang, art by Paco Medina and Alessandro Miracolo, color artist, CC De La Cruz, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So I ended up reading the first issue and this back to back. And it slightly doesn't matter, but I'm just saying that just in case I end up saying something that might be in the first, that was from the first issue. Realistically, some of the stuff that from the first issue kind of comes back into this, because at the end of the first issue we find our bootleg Iron Fist in New York with a couple of street level heroes, aka Daredevil, Electro Nachos, and White Tiger. I know Agent 70 read that first issue, so that's why this is not won't be a surprise to him going into this one. So that's the whole thing is still kind of going on, and then we get some other stuff with we definitely get some stuff with Pei and White Fox with the adventure that they end up going on that is slightly sort of related, that leads to me a surprise character that shows up technically two characters, but one is not as big of a surprise as the one character that shows up at the end of this issue, that is from another faction that we don't really see too much of, let's just say. And we'll see what they have to do with. There was a Luke Cage reference in here that was pretty neat, and also I don't know if there's going to be a figure for the Iron Fist mech that shows up during the course of this, but I would hope so. And also, there was another. Well, it's not even a reference, but another character from the from the Iron Fist mythos shows up here for a reason. But yeah, therein lies that, and that ends the books that I have. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
So yeah, got yours?
I've got my candidates. I definitely have my candidates. I think my primary candidates are in no particular order, but I generally go from top to bottom in my list. Were Absolute Wonder Woman #18, the DC Marvel Superman Spider-Man #1 one-shot. I think surprisingly for me, ThunderCats #25, Fantastic Four #9, and Uncanny X-Men #25. But I think I'm going to narrow it down from those candidates down to Uncanny X-Men #25, FF #9, and maybe ThunderCats. Number 25. I still have to kind of think through these three candidates. How about you?
Interestingly enough, actually, you know what? I do have a couple more covers for ThunderCats. So, watching Universe, you see the main cover for ThunderCats, which is a good one. It's weird because it almost looks AI. I don't know if it is. There's
It's
another.
just digital art, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of it's I had this almost exact same conversation with some younger people who were working behind the counter at my local comic shop when I went to
hmm
pick up my comics. They were talking about one or a couple of the variant covers for the Superman Spider-Man crossover, and they were saying, well, one of them was saying that, well, this is AI, and I said, no, this is digital art, this is not AI, this is by a recognized artist.
right, because it's a buzzword that only that the kids know and don't may not always realize that no, people do work digitally. The artists
Right.
do work digitally a lot of times.
Right.
So that's
Right. They definitely tried
bad.
to sell me this cover, the black suited Spider-Man and the black suited Superman.
A pretty cool cover, admittedly.
It was all right.
Personally, yeah, I mean
It
to
didn't
me
really
it
speak to
is
me. I didn't buy it. So
right, but the covers with like this Silk and Supergirl one.
right,
That was
yeah, see, I bought that one. That's Stanley Artgerm Lau,
mm-hmm,
right? And I bought that one. I bought it just to support the fact that Silk is on the cover,
mm-hmm,
you know. And it was nice to get a little bit more representation
right,
going on with that cover. So
right, and then there's the Cooper cover with Spider Woman and Supergirl. Peyton Crane one. That one's a pretty cool one. Yeah, like I said, there's some cool ones in
yeah,
here.
that one's Adam Hughes. Like that one, I normally am
I'm
I'm
sorry,
normally
you're
in
right.
the
Adam
bag.
Hughes, not Kubert.
Right. I'm normally in the bag for an Adam Hughes cover with Supergirl, especially with Spider Woman on it, but that didn't speak to me either.
Right, right. Understood. So yeah. I did not pull the Punisher Spider Woman one, but the 4PL one. But anyway, for myself, ThunderCats is definitely a pick, a potential click. Um, the Star Trek, um, yep, Star Trek: The Last Starship is definitely another one. Um, Photograph was pretty good. That if there was another one, but it's pretty much going to be one of those two. If there was going to be another one, it would probably be Void Rivals. Fantastic Four was good. Both of the Fantastic Four books were good. The first Frozen one was fun. Um, that being said, though, I think I'm actually already pretty much tied down to the one I want, and I'll put this. Right. Thundercats number 25.
Are you going with Thundercats?
I am.
All right.
Right.
I'm gonna go with nice, good choice. I think I'm going to go with Uncanny X-Men number 25. Fantastic Four number 9, very close second because I enjoyed reading that. I think that the enjoyment I got out of reading Uncanny X-Men number 25, I think put it over the top.
Yeah. One of these days I will catch up on with Uncanny because I do enjoy what Gail Simone's doing over there. She's having fun and I love it. Have to love it. Um, that being the case, actually, there. So those are the clicks of the week. As I go ahead and put this into the show notes, let's get one. Let's get our first ad read, please.
Our first ad read of the show is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to cabernet to torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
Cinematic news is we do about this time, and I am here we go. Now we're all first up is cinematic news. Wonder Man gets renewed for season 2. So that is has been confirmed. Good job. Good news, everyone.
Mhm.
We were wondering what how that was going to work out, and whether they were going to do it or not. So it's good to know that they pulled the trigger on that. Really, not much else to know outside of that. If you haven't watched Wonder Man, you should. It's actually pretty good. Next up,
Yeah, we definitely recommend the latest Wonder Man, the Wonder Man series. So the latest series from Marvel. It's pretty good. All right, next up. Project Hail Mary's screenwriter says his Sinister Six movie was never made due to the 2014 Sony hack, which makes sense. So, Drew Goddard told Variety that he had a big Spider-Man movie about the Sinister Six go down because of the Sony hack. His office was right on the lot, and he saw the FBI swarm in and the helicopters fly over the studio. He was sad about it, but there was literally nothing he could do to change the course of events. He supposes it was better than if they had not liked the script.
that's yes, I agree, but I I don't know. There's part of me was like, why would that? So they did not. I don't know. Part of me has me questioning why that would be the case. I mean, I know why a reason why it wouldn't be the case, but I'm sitting here like, so they didn't give. Well, the hack kind of messed up a few things for Sony, so I get it on that front. But it was like, well, that's never stopped them before. Is basically what I'm saying. So I feel like there's a little bit more to it. But if that's what he says, then that's what he says. Next up, though, Mike Coulter hints around the return of Luke Cage in Daredevil season 2, or Daredevil BornAgain season 2. So he was at Orlando MegaCon, I guess happened recently, and he
Yeah,
spoke
last
about
weekend.
he spoke about potentially returning. Um, he spoke about potentially returning and having a child with fellow Marvel superhero Jessica Jones, which they never haven't really set up their relationship in the MCU, so that would probably take a minute in another show. But so yeah, there was the question was raised about whether he was coming back or not. He says that let's see, speaking at a panel reflecting his long career in Hollywood as a as an actor. Um, uh, he thought about reprising his iconic role and replies that it makes sense. So that's not really saying anything. I'm sure maybe there was a Marvel sniper there or two. We don't know, but he doesn't really kind of doesn't necessarily say that he says one way or the other. This article doesn't really do a whole lot, or at least from what I've gathered, that it talks about his character so more than the question that was raised, put it that way. So, but you can check it out in the show notes if you are interested in finding out what his thoughts are on the character and yes, the one return of the character, which we feel like it's probably going to happen. Next up.
In sad news, Valerie Perrine, an Oscar-nominated actress who performed opposite Dustin Hoffman's Lenny Bruce in 1974's Lenny and starred in the Christopher Reeve Superman films, has died. She was 82. Perrine passed away peacefully at her home on March 23rd, 2026, surrounded by love exactly as she had wished, according to Stacey Souther, director of the 2019 documentary short Valerie. Um, so let's see here. Perrine's role as Honey Bruce earned her a Best Actress nomination at the 1975 Oscars, and she cinched the Best Actress award at the Cannes Film Festival, as well as a BAFTA. She clinched the Best Actress award, that is, at the Cannes Film Festival, as well as a BAFTA honor for Most Promising Newcomer. She acted alongside the late Gene Hackman, who played Superman's nemesis Lex Luthor, we know that, in 1978 Superman, and in its 1980 sequel. Perrine portrayed his girlfriend and assistant, Miss Eve Tessmacher. That's the name that's going to ring a bell.
Miss Tessmacher!
Yep.
Rest in peace. Next up, bad news. Star Trek Starfleet Academy will end in season 2. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna take this next one because it's good.
Sure.
Survivor Variety, CBS, and Paramount Plus has announced that Star Trek Starfleet Academy will end second season. The show's cancellation was reportedly a result of its low ratings, with the first season, which premiered in January and concluded in March, failing to reach the Nielsen top 10 streaming viewership charts. I halfway partially believe that, especially with who's in charge, but hey, you know, that numbers are numbers that we haven't seen. Let's see. Starfleet Academy, it garnered mostly positive reviews, but also received vocal backlash online from individuals who oppose its diverse and inclusive cast, aka the anti-woke folks. Fuck them too. Which may or may not have affected the ratings. Going into the next article, William Shatner mocks woke accusations against canceled Star Trek series. So the quote here is, well, I don't know if it's a quote, but he says, feels sorrow over the cancellation of the latest Star Trek series. And according to this article, he's hitting back against critics who called it woke. Let's see. Quote. Here we go. So he wrote on Twitter/X, Star Trek exists in more than one world. It exists in the fantasy of science fiction, weird and wonderful things that play unimaginable possibilities of exploration and human endeavor. AKA, we got black people in space and in the future, and other people and other minorities, because they don't like to show that. Anyway, a lot of times. So, and of course, he brings it back to his kiss with Nichelle Nichols from back in the day, and he also says, "I for one would love to see his continuity. It's with sorrow that I hear about the cancellation of this new Star Trek series," said in his post. So, next up.
Ryan Coogler's X-Files reboot series is ready to see what truth is out there as its pilot heads to Hulu, according to Deadline. Danielle Deadwyler will star in the series as one of two highly decorated FBI agents who get an assignment to a long-shuttered division that explores inexplicable phenomena. Okay.
Did you see the thing on the top right? The top stories?
Yeah.
Maybe you know of somebody who may have interest in that.
I
don't know if you're getting the same one as I do, as I am.
Not personally.
Yeah.
Not personally.
You're the one who saw the movie.
Right. Not personally, but it would be kind of cool to see, you know.
For those watching the video version, there's a Agent 70 talked about Project Hail Mary last week, and apparently you can buy an adorable plushie of one of the characters or a character that shows up in. Next up, though, in actuality, new Lord of the Rings movie from Stephen Colbert and his son in development at Warner Brothers. Apparently, the announcement came Tuesday night via the studio's various social media accounts. The video announcement opened with Lord of the Rings director Peter Jackson giving a quick update about the next film in the fantasy franchise. Wow, I didn't know that was still happening. Andy Serkis's The Hunt for Gollum. Jackson said of the project, which is set to be released in 2027, quote, Andy is doing a terrific job. It's looking amazing. The script is coming together really well, and I think it's going to be a really good film. Jackson then teased his, quote, very special partner who will help develop the next film after The Hunt for Gollum, which is the aforementioned Stephen Colbert. So, who was patched into a video call. And as folks may or may not know, Stephen Colbert is a huge Lord of the Rings nerd.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know.
He makes the rest of us look pitiful.
Yes.
You know, like we're not nerdy like that. That's
Right.
that's hardcore.
Right, exactly. And I'm pretty sure there are folks like him, just not with the same visibility that
Right.
that Colbert has. But you got to see it though, because yes, that man is knee deep dirty in some Lotro and some Lord of the Rings, not Lotro. That's the. I mean, maybe he might play Lotro. I don't know. Who knows? No, the Lord of the Rings MMO. We don't know. But here's a quote here. You know what the books mean to me and what your films mean to me, Colbert told Jackson. But the thing I found myself reading over and over and again were the 6 chapters early on in Fellowship of the Ring that y'all never developed into the first movie back in the day. Basically, the chapter 3 is company. He goes into it. So, you know, and he's thought, yeah, maybe that could be its own story that could fit into a larger story. So I guess that is the movie that he and the son are making. Ooh. Next up. That's funny.
Firefly actor Nathan Fillion has explained the decision to set the new animated series after the end of the live-action show, but before the events of its follow-up movie, Serenity, and confirmed plans to bring back a fan-favorite character. So Fillion, who plays Captain Mal Reynolds in Firefly, and some other members of the original cast announced the animated series during a panel at AwesomeCon in Washington, D.C. Let's see here. Speaking in a follow-up interview with Deadline, Fillion said that Serenity remains our wonderful farewell, and explained that he had no interest in exploring subsequent events. Going in between the TV show and the film means all the characters can return. That makes sense.
Yes. And it's animated, so the one character who is no longer with us can also still return as well. Because, spoiler alert, folks, there is a one of the main characters who dies in the movie, of which I still haven't seen spoiled on the early and often, like a number of times already, because it was a meme. So yeah, so he wanted to, and I knew when, even if I had not known that, when these announcements come out and he went to the person who plays the character, like, you know, basically like, I can't do this without you. I'm like, well, we know what that means, because there was no way in the world that it would have been said after the movie.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, we have a some concept art here that doesn't have either one of the other 2 characters that I just mentioned, but that's okay. So, and there was a follow-up interview with Deadline, and you know, basically saying that, hey, yeah, Serenity still has its place as the finality of the thing. So go. Oh, actually, not that just spoiled something up, but hey, the movie's been around. So I did not know the other characters that I mentioned. That is no. I mean, the actor for the character that is no longer that character also died in Serenity. So I did not know that part either. So good, great. Next up, though, actually, I might have got spoiled on that too. Who knows? Super Mario Galaxy movie adds Fox McCloud and Star Fox and Smash Brothers crossover. But yeah, folks, guess what? That new that Super Mario movie is happening, and in fact, I think it's next week. I don't think either Agent 70 or I are going to see it, but we don't have to worry about going on the movie protocol for that. But
Right.
and funny enough, I did see like 10 minutes of the first 10 minutes or so of the first movie, and I didn't realize how many references of stuff is in that movie that early on as well. So I may actually end up watching that point. But regardless, congratulations, folks. Maybe Fox will do a barrel roll. Who knows? But go. Next up, in a little bit of anime news.
Let's see.
Transmute.
Comic writer and creator Sebastian A. Jones is expanding The Untamed, his beloved graphic novel series from his Stranger Comics imprint, universe in more ways than one. For the uninitiated, the original book introduced the fantasy world of Asunda and the Stranger, who has made an unholy and deadly deal with dark forces. He must collect the 7 souls who killed his family in 7 days, or things will not end well for him. So let's see here. This is an animated project. And this anime titled Niobe was first revealed during StrangerCon. Okay.
Which, yeah, I did not know if they had their own convention for. I don't think I've read any of the Niobe stuff, but I know it has a following, so that's good. Now we go over into comic book news. Sad news. Sam Keith, creator of the Maxx and Sandman, has died at age 63. He apparently died on the 15th of, wow, the Ides of March. The 15th of March after suffering from Lewy body dementia, a degenerative disease described as a combination of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. He is survived by his wife of 43 years, Kathy Keith. Rest in peace.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. I actually have a great story, and I talked about this in a previous show, and I posted about it on social, about a great story that I have getting a sketch from Sam Keith in like the early aughts, and yeah, I met him. He's a really cool person. There's a funny story there. You may have to circle back. I'm not going to retell it now, but you have to circle back to either at age_70 on Instagram, or go back through our archives and listen. But yeah, I was very sad to hear the story. I had no idea that he was suffering physically from a pretty tough degenerative illness, Lewy body dementia. So that's pretty tough.
Of course, the article goes into his career and artwork. You can check all that out if you did not already know about him. Show notes. Next up.
All right, give me 1 second. The Exorcism at Buckingham Palace #1 returns with a second printing. This is published by IDW, and the second print release, alongside the second issue of the book, is coming out on April 29th. This is coming out April 29th, and it looks like it is $4.99.
I remember, as I recall, you started reading The Exorcism at 1600p, which is the prequel to this. Did you finish it or no?
I don't recall. Probably not.
So, because I remember seeing this when in our review copies, and I'm like, oh, I guess they did another one of those. Fair enough. Oh, cool. Next up, though, M1 Monster Racing League is a new series with J. Lee art. It is a new comic series by artist J. Lee, colorist June Chung, and the father-daughter writing team of Robert and Lily Wyndham. There is apparently also an animated series that is in development, that was in development prior to the comic books release, that I guess is still coming out. And it is a ongoing series from Image Comics, which stars 17-year-old Dev, who gets involved with an underground street racing scene as she moves to a near future version of Tokyo. Writer and producer Jeffrey M. Howard, writer for the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur animated series, is working on an animated version of the series. First issue will be released on June 10th, 2026, with the main cover with cover stuff with the main cover by Lee and some other variant cover. According to this flavor text here, M1 Monster Racing League is a high-stakes monster racing meets K-pop. So much energy, style, and pressure, and the characters are all trying to figure out who they are. According to Lily Wyndham, one of the writers. They said, I think teens will love it because it's super fast-paced and exciting, but also really real about friendship, competition, and finding where you belong. So if that is of any interest in you, you can check that out on June 10th. Next up.
Gotcha. So I don't read Lost Fantasy. I'm not familiar with that. Have you?
I have not read it, no.
So apparently, Lost Fantasy is easily one of the more memorable Image Comics releases of recent years. You got me with that one, with that hyperbole.
I'm not even sure if we even got any copies of. To be honest, if we have it, I don't remember it. But either way,
right. So apparently, there's a spinoff from writer co-creator Kurt Pyers. The spinoff is titled Fireborn. This new series pairs Pyers with co-writer Franklin Jonas, apparently one of the Jonas brothers, and Power Rangers artist Patrick Mulholland for a comic that recreates the vibe of classic 90s superhero stories and video games. This book is coming out on April 15th, and you can pre-order now.
There is a cover right there, and else pops up and starts running. I'm just going to go off of that. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's probably stuck. Dynamite to publish compact comics for the first time, and starting off with so Dynamite Entertainment started its own line of compact comic editions, like other publishers have done. They are kicking off with a collection of Pathfinder: The Dark Waters Rising, based on the Paizo RPG. The 24 pages, 5x5 by 5.5 by 8.5 graphic novel, which collects the first 6 issues, written by Jim Zub, art by Andrew Huerta and others. The book also includes a bonus 10-page story, The Last Mosswood Goblin, and a section of world building details to tie in with the game or deepen the world of the story. The collection will be published in June 2026 and have a retail price of $9.99. So yeah, that's well, I guess they said, oh, we'll get into it too. Yay. Next up.
Due to strong demand from comic shops, new history of the DC Universe, the Dakota Incident is heading back to stores with a second printing. That's cool. You get a new variant cover from Dan Mora. The main cover by Diego Olortegui will also return with an updated logo cover. This expands on the events introduced in DC's new history of the DC Universe. And it positions the Dakota Incident, as kind of like a central plot line for the current DC universe.
Yeah, it's a good read. Check it out if you are interested. The Batman.
I was just going to say the second printing hits stores April 22nd.
Gotcha. Penguin and Two-Face villains get wild redesigns in DC's Absolute Universe. So yada yada yada, Absolute Batman. So far, Absolute Batman has featured a number of iconic DC villains that have been redesigned in horrifying ways. They talk about some of them here. And apparently the June solicitations, of which are in the show notes, by the way, if you want to check those out, if you're interested in solicitations, have been unveiled for DC Comics. And the covers for Absolute Batman number 21 features Absolute Penguin and Absolute Two-Face. And you can check them out in the article if you're interested. Watching the video version, you're seeing them now. So Absolute Batman 21 goes on sale June 10th, 6th. With various covers by Nick Dragotta, David Nakayama, Doug Mankey, and Chris Brunner. Next up.
Yeah, we know those, those redesigns for those absolute characters are get a little crazy. So they have a lot of freedom to make them as crazy as possible.
Indeed. Oh, I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
FF number 9 had a little bit more body horror in it, which this just reminded me of, but forgot. But
Oh yeah, sure. Absolutely, absolutely. Jeff the Landshark is a TV superstar in a new Marvel series. It's Jeff the Landshark's world, and we're just living in it, apparently. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Where, oh, where? There we go. Let's see here. Marvel announced Jeff the Landshark Superstar, a 5-issue limited series from character co-creator Kelly Thompson and rising star artist Toki Tokoro. The series features Jeff the Landshark and Ken the Septopus joining forces on a buddy road trip that sees them become stars of a new TV show produced by Mojo. The publisher also teased an all-new cast of X-Men characters created by the longtime mutant villain. Let's see. Though select details are still kept close to the chest, Marvel did reveal the names of some of the X-Men, including Dazzlestorm, Magic Hot, Wolverine, Man, and Rambit. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, if you're watching the
let's
video
see
version,
here.
you can see the designs for Dazzlestorm and Magic Hot right there.
Right. The first issue is currently scheduled to hit shelves at your local comic book store on Wednesday, July 8th.
Celebrate Shield with Marvel Stormbreaker's Shield variant covers. So let's see. This is going to be stuff that's coming out. That's going to start coming out next month. Week, actually. So there are 8 Agents of Shield variant covers that you can pre-order. The books that they are going to be with are Nova Centurion number 6 on April 4th or April 1st. Null 4 on the 8th. Inglorious X-Force on the 15th. Cyclops. And there's a few. Cyclops, Wade Wilson, Deadpool, and Wolverine on the 22nd. And Fantastic Four number 10 on May the 6th. Yep, if I scroll down, you can see it variant covers there as I scroll through. Look, it's Boom Boom. There's Nova one. Looking one, but all right, sure, yeah. Oh, look, even Thor. Green? There you go. So, if any of those look good for you, you can check those out at the times at the dates that I mentioned. Next up.
Alrighty, this summer the Avengers undergo a transformation, and that's going to be in Avengers Armageddon, a 5-issue series from writer Chip Zdarsky and artists Delio Diaz and Frank Alpizar. Marvel Comics has revealed new variant covers for the debut issue on sale in June, including the special foil cover by Kari Andrews and a dramatic piece by Jerome Mopena. and this article also shows off a first look at the prelude story in Armageddon X-Men #1, CGD 2026. So this is Comics Giveaway Day. That's the renaming of Free Comic Book Day for May 2nd.
There was nothing wrong with the name Free Comic Book Day. At least they didn't change the site though. I just I just went to freecomicbookday.com and it still says that. In fact, yeah, I don't see anything on here about them. I would really love to know what prompted the change. But I guess we won't know, and it's not that big of a deal, or shouldn't be. Whatever. Still silly. Hey, folks. If you were interested in Marvel Maximum Collection with 2 versions of various old, Marvel games, such as X-Men, the arcade game, Captain America and the Adventures, Spider-Man, Venom, and Maximum Carnage. We have talked about this before, I know, but Venom's Spider-Man, Separation Anxiety, Silver Surfer, and Spider-Man X-Men Arcade Revenge. Well, you're in luck because actually, the day we are recording, the day before it comes out digitally, which is Friday, March the 27th. If you are looking for a physical version, you can go to Limited Run Games. They are not a sponsor, but just saying. After 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and choose your pre-order for the physical version, which I believe will not be coming out until later in the year. But like I said, but if you just want the digital version, that'll be out tomorrow, as of this recording. So by the time you get this recording in audio form, it'll be out. And probably one of us will likely be playing it. If not both of us. We shall see. Next up.
Alrighty. Jay and Silent Bob, Chronic Blunt Punch, understands the assignment right down to the 4/20 release date. Oh my gosh. It is a video game, and it is going to release on April 20th because it is, Blunt Man and Chronic. And yeah, there's some, I guess, gameplay videos in this article. And yeah, I heard about this on his podcast, so on Fat Man Beyond. So it's coming out soon.
Is indeed
It's a
coming
beat 'em
out.
up. So, speaking of those 90s Marvel games that we are fans of and we're rebuying to not relive our youth, but just get a little bit of joy in our lives because the world is on fire. So, you know what? Maybe this game will help with that as well.
Beat 'em ups has had a nice little resurgence in the last couple of years, and I'm happy to see that. I don't know if I will partake of this one, but well, I'm sure someone I follow will probably be be playing it for the views. We shall see. Penguin Random House will release the official Magic the Gathering coloring book on April the 28th of this year. So it is an adult coloring book, which I don't know why there's a distinction, but sure. Coloring books are for everybody, just like Bubbles. This officially licensed adult coloring book allows Magic players to take a break in between tournament rounds to color in artwork that showcases classic characters, settings, creatures, and scenes from the game. The book features 80 pages of illustrations from across Magic's 3 decades of history to decorate with colored pencils, markers, watercolors, or whatever medium they wish to. Try to stay between the line, folks. The book is printed, or don't. I don't know. Ain't in charge of your life. But the book is printed on high quality bleed resistant paper to preserve the colored in images. It will retail for $17.99. If a coloring book is of interest to you and you like Magic the Gathering, hey, this book is for you. Next up.
A recently leaked Secrets of Strixhaven card has reignited a debate over Magic the Gathering's reserved list reprint policy. The card was leaked on a double D20's Cards and Games Whatnot stream when the card was pulled out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pack. The card is emeritus of ideation, and providing the leak is of a legitimate card. It is one of the cards in Secrets of Strixhaven that Mark Rosewater hinted at in his blog, a mythic rare cycle that grants your instants and sorceries old keywords. And do you know what I have to say in response to that?
Who?
Or what? I mean, seriously, like what does any of that jibber jabber mean?
Oh, stop it. So there are the folks who know who knows.
I know.
So the interesting part about it was the pulled out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pack, which to me suggests. I mean, I'm not saying mistakes couldn't happen, and they, some in packaging and whatnot, but something seems amiss in that. Because one, they usually do sets well in advance, and to go into printing for them to sell. So the fact, and they are, if I'm not mistaken, they are working on multiples. So potentially something like that could happen. I have doubts that that if it is an actual card, that actually happens. That's just me. Just me. Anyway, and it just actually just reminded me because I still have another box of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cards to go through. I doubt if I will find anything like that, but that's a lot of doing. Cyberpunk TCG approaches 10 million in crowdfunding. It becomes the most funded TCG starter of all time, apparently, according to this article. So as of the publication of this article, Weird Code Cyberpunk TCG, that is trading, those not knowing, has raised 9,697,523. I'm pretty sure that number has gone up because this article is a few days old. But let's just say it's pretty sure it's probably made its goal. That feels. Apparently it passes Exploded Kittens at 8.78 million. Did not know. I knew Exploding Kittens was a Kickstarter. Didn't know that big. So yeah, therein lies that. Rewards and stuff will be going out and whatnot when this finally comes to publication. Good luck to all of those folks who bought into it. Next up.
Wizards of the Coast's D&D design team made an appearance at GaryCon 18, and I had to read that Roman numeral over in my head and say that one, and discuss the future of the brand at a press conference on March 19th, 2026. Big news came out at this press conference, which was led by GaryCon founder Luke Gygax and the new head of the D&D franchise, Dan Ayub, starting with the announcement that Luke Gygax will be collaborating with D&D design team on upcoming projects. Gygax specifically noted that he will be lending his expertise on the Greyhawk setting to future projects and mentioned a possible Melf's Guide to Greyhawk book. I have to be careful how I say Melf's Guide to Greyhawk, pronunciation, folks. Pronunciation.
I think you would have been fine with that one, but yes, that's pretty funny.
It's a Greyhawk book coming down the road. My goodness. My goodness.
That's pretty good. I am assuming Luke is the son of Gary Gygax, the creator of, guessing by the name. But who knows? Last but not least, there are new Super 7 Reaction Transformers blind boxes. Apparently some figures had been shown on their Facebook page. We get these are G1 retro packaging blind boxes with re-release of previous reaction Transformer figures, now with metallic finishing. First wave was found at U.S. retailers in January of this year. Now we have a new wave featuring the redecos of the first wave, which includes Sound Blaster, which is the Soundwave clone, Megatron, Optimus Prime, Grimlock, and 2 Mysterious Prime and Megatron figures, apparently. So, and this of course, this Transformers forum is on the case with that stuff. Good on them, I guess. And that's it, folks, for the news section. Can we get one last ad read?
All right, our last ad read for this show is Keep Our Podcast Free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
So just to kind of slightly reiterate before we go, hey, if you're a Steam user, and as far as I know, the Marvel Maximum Collection is going to be on Steam, usually they pop stuff off about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes a little earlier, depends on the thing, but definitely right around 1 o'clock you'll be able to purchase the joint. If you are so interested in doing so. So, will there be a stream on a said thing? Maybe. Will there be a Marvel Hero stream coming up in the future? Yes, probably, because that's the thing I would love to for Agent 70 to see, even if he doesn't play it. But with that, folks, we are going to get out of here for the night. We will definitely be back next week with more Monarch, Daredevil, Invincible, and whatever else happens to pop up during the course of the week. Probably not that Super Mario. Oh yeah. Oh wait, actually, before we go, let me do a very quick show and tell here. I think. Oh yeah. Folks know I'm into cards. I just found out that there was a card game for my family.
Nice.
And here is the set. I think there might be 2 different sets. I'm not entirely sure, but this is the one that is definitely Crunchyroll sponsored, or Crunchyroll and Tokyo Pop branded. I have not opened the box yet because I just got it like yesterday. But it says on the back, and this is what I was talking to Agent 7 about this. I got to read small print. I'm not gonna do that because it's small print. And I'm getting old. So it's a card game that apparently you have to be the best buy, whatever the case may be. And I'm sure all of the characters are represented. So maybe there will be an Instagram post where I check out some of the cards. We shall see, though. But with that, folks, I have been Roddykat. I've been Roddykat. Find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Nerd Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. You can also find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network, that's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
And of course, you can find us, and I should have rolled this in here like I've been doing, but you can find us recording every Thursday night at 9:30/10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we are on live and direct.
All right, folks, have a good one. Be safe. Don't get fooled too much by whatever silly April Fool's stuff that may come across your feeds. Don't trust, but verify.
My goodness, I totally forgot about that.
Oh yeah, it happens, and sometimes they've been starting a little bit a day earlier too. So be careful what you check out and retweet. If it looks too be good to be true, might be. But sometimes they'll actually throw some real stuff in there, as we've seen in past years. So yeah, weird stuff. But with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?